Well, morning. Glad you looked in on me. Now, them of you who've been around this porch a while know I ain't much of a reading man. The almanac, the sale bill, and that's about the size of it. But my wife's mother, rest her, she was a great one for books, and when she passed, we ended up with boxes of 'em. And this one here, I want to say we paid a quarter for the whole box at the library sale. Might have been 50 cents. This one's been sitting on the shelf by my chair for years. Fella named Robert Louis Stevenson. Same fella wrote Treasure Island. That one I did read, about 50 years ago, under the covers with a flashlight. Anyhow, this is a book of his talking pieces, and there's a line in here that stopped me cold last week. Wrote it back in 1882. Listen to this. Marriage is one long conversation, checkered by disputes. Now, ain't that something? 140-some years old, that sentence, and I read it and I thought, well, Lewis, you've been sitting in my kitchen. But then he goes on. Next breath he says, the disruptions are valueless, worthless, just noise between the good parts. And, no. No, sir. And I'm going to tell you why a dead Scotsman who wrote about pirates is half right and half dead wrong. 'Cause the half he got wrong took me about 30 years to figure out. And it near cost me the whole conversation. Hear me out on this one, all right? Me and my wife have been married 41 years this fall. And for right about 30 of them, we had the same argument. I don't mean we argued a lot. I mean we had one argument, the same one, over and over, wearing a different shirt every time it showed up. The first shirt it ever wore was supper. Year 2, maybe year 3. She'd have supper on the table at 6, 'cause that's when I said I'd be in. And 6 would come and go, and I'd still be out there, fixing the one more thing, hauling the one more load, 'cause the work don't punch a clock, and I figured she knew that. And I'd come dragging in at 7:30 to a plate with a lid on it and a woman who wasn't saying much. And I'd say something smart like, "It's a ranch, honey, not a bank." Yeah, you can imagine how far that one got me. And from there, that same argument just went through the closet, putting on whatever hung there. It was the phone call I didn't make when I ran into town and stayed 3 hours. It was the school recital I missed 'cause a heifer picked that exact evening to calve. It was the tractor, Lord, the tractor. I bought a tractor one spring without saying a word to her first. Good price, needed it, still got it. And I will tell you, that tractor has heard more about itself over the years than any piece of equipment in this county. Money, time, the in-laws, whose turn it was to be tired, didn't matter what the shirt looked like. Same argument. Her saying some version of, "You could have told me," and me saying some version of, "I was working. What more do you want?" 30 years. Okay? 30 years of the same fight, and neither one of us ever won it once. Now here's where I'm headed with all this, and I'd ask you to sit with it a second, because it took me 3 decades, and I'm handing it to you in a minute and a half. That argument was never, not one single time, about what it was about. It was never the supper. She could keep a plate warm. That woman ran a household through droughts and lean years. A cold supper didn't scare her. And it wasn't the tractor, and it wasn't the phone. Underneath every shirt that argument ever wore, she was saying one sentence, one. Do I still come before all this? That's it. That's the whole thing. Tell me I still come first. And here's the part that shames me a little. I was answering her the whole time, in the only language I had. 'Cause to me, being out there till 7:30 was the answer. Every fence I fixed, every load I hauled, That was me saying I love you. I'm taking care of you. That's what all this is. I mean, my daddy never once said that sentence out loud in his life. And he provided every day of it. And I grew up thinking those were the same thing. Now some of you are sitting there going, Hank, ours ain't like that. Ours is about money. Is it? Or is money just the shirt yours wears? 'Cause I'll bet you, whatever you two keep circling back to, if you dig under it, there's one sentence down there. And it's probably a scared one, not a mad one. Do I matter? Am I safe? Are you still with me? The mad is just the armor the scared puts on to leave the house. So now let's go back to Mr. Stevenson, 'cause this is where him and me part ways. The disputes are valueless, he says. The real marriage happens in between. The easy talk, the quiet evenings, and the fights are just weather passing through. And I understand why a fellow would think that. The fights feel like weather. They blow in, they blow out. Nothing looks different after. Same kitchen, same two people, same tractor. But look at it again. That one argument coming back year after year after year. That wasn't noise interrupting the conversation. That was the conversation. That was the most important thing either one of us was trying to say. Do I come first? Am I enough? Do you see me? And we kept saying it the only way we knew, which was badly, loud and sideways, and about a tractor. The dispute wasn't static on the line, friend. The dispute was the line. It was the two of us pulling on the same rope. And you don't pull on a rope that ain't tied to anything. 140 years ago, that man wrote that fighting couples are wasting their breath. And near every one of us believes some version of it, that the arguing is the broken part, the part good couples don't have. So we're ashamed of it. We hide it from the kids. We sit in the truck in the driveway finishing it in whispers. Well, I'm here to tell you the arguing was never the broken part. I know 'cause I've seen the broken part, and it don't make a sound. Them of you who were here a while back know I went through some dark years. The drought, the bank, the bottle. I've told that story, and I won't drag you back through it. But there's one piece of it I didn't tell. Somewhere in the middle of that mess, she stopped arguing with me. Supper'd go cold, and she wouldn't say a word, just scrape the plate and wash it. I'd come in at 9, 10 o'clock, smelling like the barn and worse, and there was no you could have told me. No cold shoulder even. Just a woman moving around the kitchen real quiet, like somebody living alone who happened to have company. And I remember, this is the part that gets me still. I remember being relieved. I told myself we'd finally worked it out. 30 years of the same fight, and it finally packed its bags. I'm ashamed of how long I let myself believe that, 'cause that quiet wasn't peace. That quiet was her, hanging up her end of the rope. A woman argues with you for 30 years because for 30 years she believes you might finally hear her. The day she goes quiet ain't the day she stopped being mad. It's the day she stopped believing. The fight was never the danger, friend. The quiet is the danger. The fight is two people still reaching for each other with the wrong hands. The quiet is one of them folding theirs. Now, I'd love to tell you I saw all that clear in the moment. I didn't. It took the whole bottom falling out, and her almost going with it, before I got still enough to hear anything. But when I finally did, here's what came out. Not a defense. Not the ledger of every fence I ever fixed for her. Just the sentence I'd been answering sideways for 30 years, said straight for the first time. You come first. You always came first. The work was never instead of you. The work was the only way my daddy ever taught me to say it, and I should have learned your language instead of making you squint at mine for 30 years. And that woman looked at me across that kitchen, and she picked her end of the rope back up. Didn't fix everything, mind. There ain't one speech that fixes a marriage. Anybody selling you that is selling something. But the argument changed that night, 'cause finally both of us knew what it was about. So here's the one thing I'd hand you if you've got one of these 30-year arguments running in your house. Don't try to win it. You can't win it. I tried for 3 decades, undefeated at losing. Next time it starts up, the dishes, the money, the thermostat, whatever shirt it's wearing at your place, stop, right in the middle of your own sentence if you have to, and ask yourself, what's the sentence under this one? And then answer that one, out loud, plain, even if your voice does something embarrassing halfway through. Now look, I ain't a counselor. I'm a man who kept a marriage alive by the skin of his teeth. And if my wife told this story, you'd hear it different, and she'd be at least half right. But I watched one plain sentence do what 30 years of being right never did once. So, old Louis. Marriage is one long conversation checkered by disputes. Half credit, son. I'd write it this way. Marriage is one long conversation, and the disputes are the chapters where you're both still trying. The day you should worry ain't the day you're arguing in the driveway. It's the day neither one of you can be bothered. If there's still a little friction in your house, well, friction means 2 people are still touching. There's rope left. Go pick up your end. And no, before anybody asks, me and her didn't retire the argument. It still comes around. Had it Tuesday, matter of fact. It wore the thermostat this time. Whole thing ran about a minute, and we ended up laughing in the kitchen like a couple of kids. That's what it turns into once you both know the sentence underneath. It stops being a war and starts being a wink. Tell me something down in the comments. How many years has your argument been running? And don't tell me what it's about. Tell me what it's really about, if you've dug down that far. Somebody's going to read your answer tonight sitting in a quiet house, and it might just get them to walk into the kitchen and say the real sentence while there's still somebody standing there to hear it. You take care of yourself now, and go easy. I'll see you next time.